I spent $12,000 flying my family in for my med school graduation. They ditched me for a cruise and mocked my career. So I sent them my degree and photos of their empty VIP seats. Hours later, my mom was begging for forgiveness. But I'd already moved on. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Hey, I'm Adam, 28 years old, and I just finished med school last month. I even graduated at the top of my class. You'd think I'd feel like I was on top of the world in my cap and gown with my diploma, but it was hard to celebrate while staring at 12 empty VIP seats. I had reserved them for my family, mom, stepdad, little sister, and Aunt Kathy, who promised she wouldn't miss it for anything. Funny enough, that anything turned out to be a cruise to the Bahamas. Let me give you a bit of background. I didn't grow up in a family that throws parties for academic success. At home, straight A's meant you were either working too hard or making everyone else feel dumb. Mom would say things like, "Nobody likes a show-off, Adam," when I brought home a perfect report card. And if I talked about wanting to be a doctor, it was, "Oh, Mr. Smarty Pants, think you're better than us?" My stepdad Gary, who loved being the loudest in the room but often had nothing much to say, would joke, "I don't trust any man who can't change his own oil." He thought medicine was all about books, which he believed was for people who couldn't handle the real world. But I was determined. I studied like my life depended on it, and when I got into med school on a scholarship, I thought maybe they'd be proud. Instead, Mom asked me why I didn't just become a nurse like her friend's daughter. "It's shorter and you still get to wear scrubs." I kept trying over the years. I invited them to big moments like my white coat ceremony and the match day for residencies. The responses were always the same: "Flights are too expensive," or "We've got a lot going on," or "You know how Gary feels about big cities." After a while, I stopped pushing. I just sent updates in our family group chat, usually getting nothing back or just a thumbs up from my little sister, the only one who wasn't totally jaded. Graduation was supposed to be different. It marked 8 years of non-stop work. I studied through holidays, missed birthdays and funerals, and even slept in my car to save money. When I got a residency offer at a prestigious hospital and found out I'd be giving a speech, I went all out. I spent $12,000 to bring everyone out first class, booked a hotel suite with a lake view, and planned a fancy dinner. I imagined Mom tearing up seeing my name in the program and maybe, just maybe, telling me she was proud. The day before the ceremony, I called to confirm their flights but got no answer. I texted and still heard nothing. That night, as I was going over my speech for the 100th time, my phone lit up. First was a text from Mom: "Adam, we're not coming. Watching you pretend to be a doctor sounds painful. We booked a cruise instead. Enjoy your fake moment." Then Aunt Kathy chimed in: "We'd rather be somewhere worth celebrating." You know how boring those things are. No apologies, just that. I stared at those messages until my eyes hurt. I didn't cry or throw my phone, I just felt something break inside me. The next morning, I stood on stage, gave my speech, people clapped, and I smiled. But the whole time, my eyes kept drifting back to those empty seats in the front row. People who should have been there to support me had spent my life trying to shrink me down. After the ceremony and all the post-grad festivities, I went back to my hotel room and finally let myself feel the hurt and betrayal. I had given them this moment on a silver platter, and they threw it away. I didn't reply to their texts or call back when Mom left a voicemail 2 days later, saying, "Hope it went well. Send pics if you can." Instead, I made 2 decisions. First, I asked the university to print a second ceremonial copy of my diploma and bought a sleek. So, I found a black frame and wrapped it in fancy gold paper, then sent it to my mom's place. Inside, I included an 8x10 print of the 12 empty chairs lined up perfectly under a banner that said "Reserved for the family of Dr. Adam Orr." But I wasn't finished with my surprises. I had one more trick up my sleeve they definitely wouldn't see coming. Anyway, about 3 hours after the package arrived at my mom's house, my phone started blowing up, calls, texts, voicemails galore. Gary left a message saying, "You're being dramatic, kid," and my aunt commented, "This is beyond petty." But it was my mom's voicemail that really caught me off guard. She was sobbing so much that her words were all choked up. She begged, "Please, I didn't know it would hurt you this much. I thought you knew we were just joking. Please call me." I couldn't bring myself to listen to the whole message. I stopped around the part where she said, "We didn't think it would matter that much." That one sentence, so out of touch, was all I needed to hear. They still didn't get it, and honestly, they never did. So I didn't call back. I didn't reply to anyone. Instead, I switched off my phone and sat quietly at my kitchen table, flipping through the photo I took just before the ceremony. Those 12 empty chairs, with names taped on the back, felt like a punchline to me. It was then that I hopped on my laptop, logged into my bank account, and started making changes. You see, part of how I could afford to fly my family in first class was because of a modest $60,000 inheritance from my grandmother. She passed away when I was in my second year of med school. She wasn't rich, but she left me this amount in a joint account that had my name on it since I turned 18. She always told me, don't waste this on bills or nonsense. Use it when the time is right to do something that matters. Over the last couple of years, I'd been super careful with it. Some went towards my rent during my first hospital stint, some for travel to interviews, but most of it I saved for something really meaningful, like maybe opening a small clinic in underserved areas or working in low-income neighborhoods. My family didn't know, but my grandmother's original will had split the inheritance 3 ways between me, my mom, and my aunt. But a year before she passed, after seeing the way my mom treated me during a holiday visit, she quietly changed it. No drama, just revised it, and left everything to me. You're the only one I trust to do something good with it, she said. They'll just waste it. Here's where it gets interesting. My mom thought she still had access to that joint account from when I was a teenager. She'd been telling people for months, when Adam becomes a doctor, we'll finally do that kitchen remodel. I didn't think much of it until my cousin mentioned that my mom and Gary had scheduled a contractor visit for the same week as my graduation. That contractor never showed up. Why? Because once I got back from graduation, I moved every penny from that account into a new one solely in my name and closed the old one for good. Just to top it off, I donated a portion of what was left to the very clinic I hoped to join one day and sent them a note with my name and graduation photo. If my family wasn't going to celebrate my achievement, I figured I could at least use their oversight to help someone who really needed it. The call started up again, but this time the tone was different. They were angry, furious even. Gary called, yelling, "That was your mother's account. She's had her name on it since you were a kid. That money was meant for the family." I didn't even flinch. I replied, "You're right, it was for the family. But I guess you all decided a cruise was more important than the family member who made it possible." Click. Then Aunt Kathy left a voicemail, her voice all shrill and disbelieving. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Your mother is beside herself." They kept saying, "We didn't think." And that was it. They didn't think about what it meant to stand alone at the most significant milestone of my life. They didn't think about investing in a moment that was meant to be special, only for them to laugh it off as if I were just a kid playing dress-up. They didn't think about the years I spent earning it or the pride I should have felt, or the little boy in me who still needed them to understand. So, I've always wanted to hear someone tell me they're proud of me, but instead, all I got was silence, mockery, and disappointment wrapped in entitlement. So, no, I didn't feel bad about closing the door on them. I didn't regret sending them my diploma and a photo of where they should have been sitting. And I definitely didn't regret what I did next. I decided to change the beneficiary on all my accounts, legal and medical documents, emergency contacts, you name it. I chose someone who really mattered, my best buddy Marcus. He's the one who stayed up with me during late-night cramming sessions, helped me prep for interviews, and flew himself across the country for my graduation. He even got his own suit and showed up with a sign saying, "Proud of my brother Dr. Adam R." The night after the ceremony, I took him out for dinner and handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was the legal paperwork. He looked surprised, like, "What's this?" And I just grinned and said, "It's me choosing my real family." He didn't say much, just sat there with a red face holding the envelope. Meanwhile, my mom kept calling, leaving voicemails that were a mix of anger and sadness, saying stuff like, "You think money makes you better than us? You think your degree erases your roots?" But she had it wrong. Family isn't just about blood, it's about who's there for you when you're down and cheers the hardest when you've made it. Most importantly, it's about who doesn't bail on you when you're in the spotlight. They bailed, so I moved on. Then, it was a chill Thursday evening, a couple of weeks after graduation. I'd just come back from a residency orientation, still in my white coat with my stethoscope hanging around my neck. The place smelled like the takeout I'd just set up, and for the first time in months, I was looking forward to a quiet night in. Then, there was this knock, not loud or desperate, just like whoever it was figured they had a right to be there. I opened the door, and there was my mom, looking a mix of windswept and ticked off, with Gary awkwardly standing behind her like he was waiting for security to kick him out. My stomach sank, but I didn't budge or say a thing. My mom blinked, Like she didn't recognize me anymore, probably because I didn't rush to open the door wide like I used to. She cleared her throat and said, "Adam, can we come in?" I just cocked my head and asked, "Why?" She seemed taken aback but said, "Because we need to talk in private, face to face." I filled the doorway and replied, "We could have done that 2 weeks ago at graduation." Gary laughed, "Come on man, are you still hung up on that? We did congratulate you." But I shot back, saying, "No, you made fun of me and chose a Caribbean buffet over being there for your son." My mom fired back, saying it wasn't fair, claiming I didn't even give them a chance to explain. I raised an eyebrow and said, "You sent a text saying, watching you pretend to be a doctor sounds painful. What was I supposed to stick around for? The punchline?" Gary chimed in, saying I was being petty and that the money wasn't mine to touch. I smirked, so it's not about being there for me, it's about the inheritance. My mom's face tightened, and she said they thought about using it for a remodel, suggesting Grandma would have wanted us to enjoy it together. I reminded her how Grandma had to live with someone else because they couldn't handle her needs after she got sick. She flinched, not expecting that. I told them Grandma changed her will because she saw what I didn't, that they only showed up when there was something to take, not to support or encourage. Gary got more aggressive, accusing me of feeling superior just because I got a degree. I stared him down, saying, "No, I just finally see you for who you are, and I'm done pretending you're anything more." My mom's voice cracked, "Adam, please, you're still our son." I shook my head, funny, 'cause 2 weeks ago, I was pretending to be a doctor, but now without a check, I'm worth a visit. She tried to say more, but nothing came out except maybe a flash of guilt or shame in her eyes. For a split second, it seemed like time stopped. I stepped back and left the door half open. "You traveled all this way, but couldn't make it to my event?" I said gently. "That says it all." She moved forward a bit, almost pushing the door, but then held back. Her voice was tiny, "Can't we just start over?" I paused, then told her, "We already did. I just moved on without you." And with that, I closed the door. I didn't cry or smile, I just stood there listening until her footsteps faded away. But things didn't just stop there. Soon, the entire family knew about it. My aunt spread the news to her sisters, who told their spouses, and eventually, my cousins found out. Some people thought I was bold, others thought I was heartless. My cousin Drew even texted, "You did what we all wish we could." But, of course, not everyone agreed. I got kicked out of group chats, and there were Facebook posts I wasn't tagged in. My mom's side, who never really liked my grandmother, freaked out like I'd committed some major family crime. An uncle I hadn't heard from in 5 years messaged, "You'll regret this. Blood is blood." But regret? Nah. I stayed focused. I wore my lab coat with pride and hung up my diploma, not the one I sent Mom, but a new one, along with a goofy picture of me and Marcus in front of our university banner. I kept building my life. Over the next 3 years, I survived one of the toughest times of my life as a medical resident. Long shifts that sometimes felt endless, missing birthdays, holidays, and even sleep. But I grew. I cared for patients, comforted the scared and the dying, shed tears in elevators, and laughed in break rooms at crazy hours. I saw some intense stuff but became a doctor in every sense, the kind who listens and talks with purpose. Meanwhile, something else was growing too, a little idea I had after graduation. With Marcus and some generous donors, I opened a small community clinic in a neglected area of the city. It wasn't fancy, just 1 floor, 5 rooms, 2 doctors, a nurse, and a volunteer desk, but it was our spot. A place where no one cared about your insurance status, where we stayed open late because sickness doesn't watch the clock. I named it after my grandmother, the Evelyn Rahr Wellness Center, and put her picture in the lobby. Walking in, I felt grounded every day. I rarely thought about my family anymore, not avoiding, just feeling at peace. But peace has a way of getting disrupted. In late October, an email popped up and it was all about a family reunion for Uncle Rich's 75th. The email was a cheery, "Hey everyone, hope you're all doing great," kind of message about a backyard potluck bash. I almost trashed it immediately, but I noticed this little note at the end, almost like an afterthought, "P.S. Adam, we all really hope you come. It's been too long. Your mom said she misses you." It wasn't signed by my mom, but by my cousin Olivia, the family peacemaker. I didn't reply. A couple of days later, a handwritten letter arrived at the clinic, with no return address. It was in neat cursive I hadn't seen in ages. "Adam, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, and maybe I don't deserve to ask, but if you can see it in your heart to come, I'd be grateful. Not to dig up the past or argue, just to see you. To see my son again. I've changed, I swear. I know it's late, but I'm still your mother. Love, Mom. She had underlined love twice. I spent a long time staring at that word. Then I folded the letter, put it back in its envelope, and tucked it away in a drawer I hadn't opened in over a year, where I kept a photo of empty chairs from graduation. I didn't even look at the photo, just closed the drawer again, and decided to go. I wasn't completely sure why, curiosity maybe, or just a need to close the door properly this time, not slam it shut. The reunion was at a rented hall, full of balloons, cheap catering, and plastic tablecloths, the kind of event my family loved. The parking lot was already packed when I got there. I stepped out of my car, dressed in a neat button-up shirt and slacks, and felt the crisp fall air. The wind was biting cold as I stepped inside the party. It was chaos in there, kids running around, people laughing their heads off, and the DJ blasting oldies way too loud. Someone had already managed to spill punch all over the gift table. As soon as I walked in, everyone stopped and stared. It was like I triggered some ancient family reflex. Someone whispered, "Is that Adam?" I just gave a polite nod and made a beeline for the back wall. I wasn't in the mood for chit-chat, I came to see if there was anything worth sticking around for. And then I saw her, my mom. She looked different, a bit softer and less polished than I remembered. Her hair was sprinkled with silver, and she was wearing a pale blue cardigan over a dress that didn't quite fit right anymore. Our eyes met, and it felt like she was scared I might just disappear. "Adam," she breathed out. "Hi," I replied. She took a step closer. "You came?" she asked. I did. Tears welled up in her eyes like she'd been holding them back for 3 years. "I didn't know if you'd even read the letter," she said. I was waiting for an apology or some sort of accountability, but all she did was reach for my hand. "I've missed you so much." I gently pulled back and said, "You missed the chance to be there when it counted." She looked hurt, but I wasn't there to argue. "I just wanted you to see me," I continued. "Not out of spite, just to know that I'm doing just fine without your support, without the money you thought I needed, without any of that." There was a pause, and she dropped her gaze. "I deserve that," she admitted. "Yes, you do," I said simply. Then I handed her a small envelope. Inside was a pamphlet for the Evelyn R. Wellness Center and a handwritten note, "In case you ever want to understand what I've been building and why I stopped waiting for you to be proud of me." She took it with trembling hands. I didn't hang around much longer, just long enough to say hi to Uncle Rich and show that I wasn't hiding, that I'd grown and built something from the silence they left me in. As I was heading to my car, Marcus showed up out of nowhere. I hadn't invited him, but he came anyway. "Figured you shouldn't have to face them alone," he said, holding out a coffee from our favorite spot. "Thought you'd want an exit drink." I laughed for the first time that day. "Let's go," I said. "I've got clinic work in the morning." As we drove off, I took one last look in the rearview mirror. My mom was standing at the hall's doorway, holding the pamphlet to her chest, watching the car fade away. She didn't wave, and neither did I. Some endings don't need closure, they just need peace. And finally, I had mine.